Hello everybody. It's time we have a long discussion of the fifth installment of Yellowstone Season 4. The episode, which was released on Sunday, is titled Under a Blanket of Red. As always, not a single second of the episode was left empty, as we got to watch many incidents, as well as many character developments. Compared to the previous episodes, the action level of Under a Blanket of Red was tamed. However, still, the plot twists were enough to keep us hooked in, as well as the acting. Still, there were some points in the episode that in our opinion required some further discussion. First and foremost, we have to talk about the protest scene. As the people of modern times, we're no strangers to protests, especially for the ones who live in a cosmopolitan city. Protests are the part of daily life that often is overlooked by the common public, unless it has a massive growth suddenly. Perhaps Montana isn't witnessing a lot of protests, we are not sure. However, we're sure of one thing. The officers in Montana don't know how to handle a process, particularly Kayce. Not only the shock in his face when he saw the protest, but also his inability to tame the people without applying violence were both surprising for us. Especially in this day and age, it's naive of Kayce to assume he can act the way he wants, as if no one will hold him accountable. Apart from this poor handling of the situation, we have to mention the absurd discussion between John and Summer Higgins, the leader of the protest. First of all, Summer's character was too blunt, at least in this episode. She was a caricature of a protester who speaks of memorized sentences as if she is a robot. It was childish of a woman like her, who is supposed to be experienced in these types of activities. But no, when she had to confront John Dutton, she suddenly became silent. She couldn't even step up to defend the cause she was ready to serve. It wasn't believable in our opinion to have such a weak character for such a role, since she needs to be well informed on her ideas first to defend them wholeheartedly during a protest. She let John shame her beliefs harshly in front of everybody, which was very weird. Besides, after this meaningless interaction, we watched John bailing her off out of the feeling of unfairness towards her. It was good of John, of course. However, Summer's character once again made no sense since she welcomed this gesture with open arms, to the point of going to Yellowstone with John. She acted as if he didn't publicly shame her just a day before, or didn't insult her beliefs and principles. She was so happy to see that someone was interested in her, and that was enough to forget about her cause in life that she was supposed to be so passionate about. The fact that the two's interaction quickly turned into a flirt was also a bit forced. We support the enemies to lovers trope at all times. However, for this trope to work, the characters should be established properly, and we should see their character growth in time so that we would believe their fondness for each other. When we see them fighting one day and flirting the next day, the supposed romance becomes an unrealistic fairy tale that no one cares for. The fact that John suspected of a plot against Yellowstone when he first saw the protest by saying that it's too much of a coincidence to have this protest here out of all the places, makes this romance even weirder. If you suspect your enemies might be behind the protest, then why would you form an intimate relationship with the head of the protest? Maybe John is a couple of steps ahead of us, and trying to play her to learn about her true intentions. However, after this episode, we doubt that he has such a plan in mind. Unfortunately, we believe that the showrunners got sick of seeing John as a lonely man and decided to come up with a sloppy plot in which they cast the director's wife. Another point we have to mention is how Jamie will act in the upcoming episodes. In this episode, we saw him furious at Garrett, as he learned that his biological father was the one who plotted all those attacks against the Duttons, his family. However, by the time he reached home to confront him, he was welcomed with a surprise visit of his ex-partner and lovely child, who decided to return to him as he cut his ties off with John. Now, Jamie needs to make a tough choice. He proved himself to us, the audience, by showing that he had nothing to do with the attacks and would stand by Duttons in any case, even against Garrett. And yet, he also needs to prove himself to John and the others. To do this, he needs to let them know that Garrett is the true enemy, and he must be held accountable for what he has done. However, if he acts in this way, he might face the risk of losing his child once again, as he needs to keep his distance away from John. Besides, he might feel that he owes Garrett the possibility of this visit. He might even feel thankful and switch sides in favor of him. We are not sure. Jamie is a very complex character and proved himself to be a worthy man this season. Still, it's quite difficult to put trust in him. Do you agree with our arguments? Did you enjoy John and Summer's interaction? What do you think Jamie will do? Let us know in the comments down below, and don't forget to like, subscribe and share the video. Thank you for watching. See you soon.